Hello, welcome to Ray-ality TV. I'm Raymond Bakari. Today I am joined by one of three Providence Ward 3 City Council candidates, Corey Jones. The incumbent for this ward, City Councilwoman Nerva LaFortune, is running for mayor, thus opening up the seat for the 2022 election. The ward contains the neighborhoods of Mount Hope, Hope Village Summit, Collier Park, and Blackstone. Mr. Jones, how are you today?
Good. Thanks for having me today, Ray.
It's good to have you on, and thanks for coming on the show. You're one of three candidates running to represent Ward 3 in 2022. Can you tell those watching a little bit about yourself and why you're the best to represent the ward?
Yeah, so, I'm running to represent Ward 3 City Council because I want to create a city where my brother can have a good recovery, where my cousin can have a successful reentry into society, and where I can raise a family and they have a good education and, thrive.
One of the main key policy proposals present on your campaign website is creating a green and equitable economy. What would that look like in Providence?
Yeah, so I think that Boston has really paved the way. I think we need to create a city-level Green New Deal, just like Boston has. And I think that, we need real community engagement. Right now, the climate justice plan is, is something that is not in statute. It can go away when Mayor Lorza does. So I think we need a plan that's a little bit more aggressive. Right now, the date to phase out carbon is 2050. Maybe we could do 2036, or maybe we could do 2040. I think we need to create, charger stations and rental properties and apartment complexes. I live at the University Heights apartment complex that have historically been redlined and gentrified. And I believe that, we should create pathways for folks in that large apartment complex to have electric vehicles. I have an electric vehicle and I'm not able to charge it at night. And that's kind of inconvenient. But I think we can phase in, more electric vehicles, make a more walkable and bikeable city, and lower the amount of cars we have on the street altogether, while also creating a green port, like multiple other ports around the country have. I think we can use aggressive rezoning tools in our tool belts to rezone parts of the Port of Providence. And I think that we can make public green space and tourist attractions in that area.
Housing is also another key issue in this election cycle, not only facing the city, but the state as a whole too. I know you would like to see safe and affordable housing for all. Some of the proposals in your plan include investing in more affordable housing, opposing subsidies for luxury housing, and refreshing the city's zoning code. If elected to the council, how would you be able to persuade your colleagues to vote in favor of these proposals?
So I think, coalition building, working with organizations that are on the front lines of advocating for these things are very important. If we align ourselves with these organizations, with the community, and then, we go and we knock doors in all of our backyards and we see how many people support these different proposals. Where are people more likely to allow housing to grow? I think that, we can create real buy-in. A lot of times NIMBYism comes because we hadn't did the real community engagement. And I think if, we work as a city council together to make that happen, then we can really increase housing. I think the tools at our tool belts is really zoning. Rezoning our city to a form first, use second zoning code will make it so people have more liberty inside of their housing, while also reserving, the historic feel of the neighborhood, or, the facade of what, our communities look like. When you go across the country in Europe, a lot of those houses look like, what they did 80 or 100 years ago, but then you go inside of it and it looks like an apartment complex or multifamily housing. And so this type of zoning would allow us to still keep our economic hubs in places like Hope Street and Broadway Street, but also it will allow us to have the liberty to expand housing within each of our units, which will increase, economic prosperity for individuals, while also, meeting our goals of increasing housing. I think the thing is that a lot of housing is a partnership between the state and the city. And so I think we have to work closely with our state legislators. I don't think convincing city council is going to be the hard task. I think we're going to have a lot of new faces that are going to be willing to take on these things. And I think at the state level, we have to lobby our legislators and create those relationships in order to make sure that we're able to do what we want to do at the city level.
Education is without a doubt another one of the top issues on residents' minds in the city. There are a number of reforms needed to be done, whether it's providing adequate funding to repair the buildings, the debate on the role charter schools should have in Rhode Island, transitioning out of the state control, the list goes on. I know there are a number of proposals as well on your website in regard to strengthening the city's public education system. And from your perspective, in what ways could the educational system in Providence be improved?
So I went to a public school. Basically everybody in my family did. And I went to a good public school where I got a good education. And I believe that, first and foremost, I think we need to move towards a city elected school board. I think that, we don't have the type of representation in our school board and in our school system that we want. And instead, it's at the hands of folks at the state who, while doing their best, have still been short of the targets that they've set. And so I think that the next thing we can do is also increase technology, translation technology, and resources to address the language barriers. So I worked as a substitute teacher at Alvarez High School, where over 90% of our students, English is their second language, and I had hard times communicating with kids of just going to the bathroom. And so while it's important to immerse kids into the language that they're learning, we also need to increase bilingual instructors because we need to be able to communicate with the kids on a basic level, and then that'll make it easier for us to be able to teach our kids. I then, after I went 5 days teaching in the classroom that I didn't know any of the kids didn't speak English, and I wasn't prepared for that scenario. And after that, every day I came in an hour early and I translated my lessons. But then the translations, the kids would tell me, the translations aren't right, mister. And so what I found is that, I didn't have the tools and the resources to be able to teach these lessons to these kids. Better yet, even being, a substitute, a first-time substitute with some of the most difficult populations in the entire building. We need to really think about the curriculums we're giving our kids and make sure that, they're going to be, culturally aligned with where our population is. And we also need to, create bilingual instructors who will give more people jobs, probably parents, that are actually able to speak both languages. And then, they can not only get a good paying job, but they also can help our teachers and be supportive.
Aside from education, public safety is another key issue that will be on voters' minds this election cycle. There are a number of ways candidates running for office in the city have proposed to what they say is reimagine how public safety should look. What's your vision for public safety in Providence?
This issue is a personal one for me. I've had 6 friends and family members be a victim of gun violence. And, I all my life was, grappling with this reality, right? Why us? Why, why this? Why now? And that curiosity is what led me into politics. And we know that we have solutions to address violence. Violence is actually some of the most manageable, policies that we can enact to actually change the city. And so I think what we need to have focused deterrence first responding. And what that is our first responders will have opportunities and jobs, therapies, and housing stability that they can quite literally offer to individuals who they believe are going down a certain path. And so what this looks like is, I know this person is involved in this or that, right? And, I give them a call and I say, we are on the verge of being able to arrest you. But instead, what we want to do is we want to give you an opportunity to walk away from this. We want to give you a job, we want to give you therapy, and we want to give you housing stability. And not just any job, high-paying trade jobs, high-paying apprenticeships, right, through our workforce development program, and give them $30, $35 an hour jobs that they can take care of their family with. And I believe, and it's not even about my belief, Boston has done this and seen a dramatic reduction in crime. And while violent crime is increasing drastically around the country, it's not at the same rate in Boston. And so this is, the first step to doing this is putting together a working group, a group of people that are probation officers, police officers, all our first responders, firefighters, and everybody that's involved in our youth system and our adult system, and saying, okay, we need to do a social network analysis and find folks that, are connected to folks who are, involved in crime or murders or, anything of that sort. And we need to offer them opportunities. And, 60% of people in Boston were willing to take these opportunities. And what that did was it reduced crime ridiculously. A dramatic amount, crime was reduced. And so I think that this is something that, we should be doing now. My current counselor, Nerva LaFortune, has called for a task force to be formed of these sorts, and I stand in solidarity with her.
This is more of a Ward 3 specific question. There have been meetings focused on a North Main Street corridor revitalization study. In your opinion, what could be done to revitalize the North Main Street corridor?
Yeah, so when I go door to door and talk to folks, the most important thing on their mind is seeing a supermarket or somewhere that, cheaper than Whole Foods, but also is walkable, that they can go and get groceries from. I think that, we obviously want more businesses and more housing on North Main Street. I think something that people aren't talking about a lot is it needs to be more walkable and bikeable. I think, there's a lot of people that sit on North Main Street and they're in danger of being hit by vehicles. One time I saw someone, pushing a dead wheelchair the opposite way of the street down North Main Street. And so I think that that's what we can do. But I think what it'll take to make that happen is working with our state legislators, and because that land is owned by the Department of Transportation. And so we have to work with our state legislators and use our leverage in order to make sure that we're able to make North Main Street look the way we desire it to look.
There are a few committees on the city council, so if you're elected in January 2023, there is an option for being on the committees. For example, the committees range from finance, ordinances, claims and pending suits, public work, etc. Do you have any specific committees in mind that you'd like to be on if elected?
I would love to be on planning. I think it's important that, people that have historically been redlined are able to be on planning and make sure that we're not creating a city that has the same type of segregation that we've created in the past. I also would love to be on finance. I've worked at the State House on an $11.7 billion budget and have gotten multiple proposals through the budget. And so I think that I have a good grips on the budget process at the state level, and I will be able to lend that expertise in order to make sure that when we're making programs at the city level, that we're able to get match funding at the state level as well, while also understanding the nuances of working with a budget, because a budget is really estimates. And so, when you're making these estimates, some estimates are more accurate than others. And, a lot of times, we see ourselves using estimates that are less accurate for the sake of, keeping something on the budget that we don't want to get nicked. And then, we see our budget going over. And I think that I'll have a good understanding of that to be able to make sure we have a budget that benefits all citizens of Rhode Island, of Providence.
In January 2023, another thing that you'd have to have a vote on and determine if once elected is the opening for the city council leadership is another big topic when it comes to that new term. President of the city council, John Igliozzi, is term limited. Councilman Espinal, who's the president pro tempore, could make that jump. It's still up in the air. And then there are a few other city councilors that are term limited. Are there any specific city councilors in mind you'd like to see in either the council president or pro tempore leadership role?
Yeah, so I think I would definitely want a lot of commitments from whoever would be the future council president. First of all, I would want them to support a city-level Green New Deal. I would want them to support taking aggressive steps and kicking the polluters out of the Port of Providence. I would want them to support rezoning, and specifically in a way that will increase housing and increase the liberty to do what you want inside of your home. I would want them to support putting more funding to the education system, which we don't have a ton of power in that realm, but I think we can work with our state partners to be able to ensure we have more funding, and also we have year-round after-school programs. So that's some of the things right now, but that could definitely change. But I would want the president to support these ideas, and whoever is willing to support these ideas and actually have a plan to make them happen, I would be in support of.
Are there any city council members currently on the council that might match the description?
I know that John has been pretty supportive of some of these progressive causes. I know that Rachel Miller has as well. I know that, Pedro is very passionate about the Port of Providence. So I think that a lot of the folks that are going to be on the city council still are going to be in play. But, I think it's going to also be about, the feasibility and the game plan to make it happen. Because, legislating without community engagement, without organizing, without advocating is not legislating well. And I plan to knock doors year round and, talk to my neighbors constantly about the issues that are pressing. I plan to, join other folks and knock doors in their neighborhoods and, poll folks and see what issues is most important to them. And I think that, whoever's dedicated to that type of movement politics is someone that I'm going to be in favor of.
Speaking of January 2023, aside from a new council president, there will also be a new mayor. Currently, there are 4 declared candidates in the Democratic primary. City Councilwoman Nerva LaFortune, who represents the ward you're running for, former Council President Michael Solomon, Brett Smiley, and Gonzalo Cuervo. Are you planning on supporting any of those candidates at this time for mayor?
So right now, I'm not. I'm waiting to see some more policy from folks. I understand, it's really early still, and, I'm just now rolling out a lot of my big policy ideas. But I really, have yet to see big, ambitious, policy like Mayor Wu ran on a city-level Green New Deal, and it has proved as a winning strategy. We have, Gina Pham, who ran in the special election on a on a state Green New Deal, and it got a lot of traction. And so we know that these positions are winning popular positions, and I'm just waiting to see what mayor candidates are going to be supporting what, and how strong and aggressive their plans to make that happen will be.
Are there any? Is there a timeline you have in mind? Because the primary is in September.
I don't, and I was planning to stay out of it, but I'll go on my gut on where I should jump in. But I think as a unelected candidate, I think I don't have much pull necessarily. I think I have a lot of resources and knowledge to offer, which I'd be willing to offer to any of the candidates, in creating a plan that looks like what I would want the city to look like. But I have not made my mind up yet.
My final question is one that I ask everybody on the show to keep tradition. It's a non-political topic, and it is, in your opinion, what do you think Rhode Island is best known for?
Yeah, so I'm an eater, so I say food. I came to Rhode Island with $500 in my pocket and in a car that was on its last leg, and crashed on my friend's couch for multiple months. And the number one thing that I've known about Rhode Island is not only do we have beautiful oceans and really close, the smallest state in the union, so you can almost walk anywhere, or anywhere it's just a short drive. But the food is, above, anything I've ever had before. Specifically the Jamaican food. Island House is really good. Flames is really good. Also Ken PVD, it's the southern food, is really good. And so, and I love to go to Hometown Poke. I love a good poke bowl. And so those are, some of my favorite things about the city.
I'll definitely have to take a look at some of those restaurants. I had seen a Kin PVD on Twitter a couple times. I've been meaning to go down there. Well, Mr. Jones, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure of mine to have you on. And thank you for watching this episode of Ray-ality TV. If you want to see future episodes as soon as they're posted on this channel, please click the subscribe button down below and the post notification bell icon to the right of it. I'm Raymond Bakari, and I'll see you on the next episode.